Guardian Angel, an Angelica Dale mystery by P.K. Armstrong. Chapter 13. Angel grasped the police reports for the incidents at Sinclair Academy and followed Captain William T. Davis down the hallway. Since she decided not to tell Detective Roland about the small sideline investigation, she had taken a chance he would be out of the office and asked an old captain for copies of the reports. While she was in with the captain, he was informed that Roland had brought a suspect in the Sinclair Academy assault in for questioning. Captain Davis had let her in the observation room. Curtis Fenway sat in the same interrogation chair Detective Roland had vacated a week earlier when he had first spoken to Angel at the PD. Angel, looking through the two-way glass, took in unfocused eyes, skinny frame, torn t-shirt, filthy jeans, and worn tennis shoes, and concluded, questionable hygiene, no sleep, and no regular meals. He fidgeted while awaiting Detective Roland. Of course, he could just be nervous, but Angel suspected some sort of withdrawal. Roland walked in and casually dropped a notepad down, followed by a uniformed officer who set a brown file box in the middle of the table. Angel noted Fenway, Curtis, 2007 to current, written on the box in block lettering. Curtis' eyes widened as he looked at his name written on the box. Of course, the box could be empty. Angel used the technique dozens of times when she was a detective. It was a good way to intimidate the suspect, especially when they weren't that bright. Although from the looks of him, Curtis didn't need much intimidating. Roland pulled out a chair, and Curtis cringed as the chair scraped the floor. After a quick glance at Roland, Curtis dropped his chin and rested it on his chest. Curtis Fenway, Roland said, his eyes intently focused on Fenway. Do you know why you are here? Fenway lifted his head and, after a quick shake, put it back down. Curtis Fenway. Roland raised his voice and at the same time picked up his notebook and slammed it down on the table. Look at me. Fenway slowly brought his eyes level with Roland and whispered, I want to go home. Maybe after we talk, you can go home. About what? Maybe you should start by telling me what you were doing 2 Wednesdays ago at 4:30 p.m. Curtis scratched his head. I don't know. What day is it now? Fenway's voice was shaking as much as his hands. Can I smoke in here? He briefly glanced up at the fluorescent lights, but it must have been too bright because he quickly looked back down again. No smoking in a government building, Roland answered. What were you doing 2 Wednesdays ago at 4:30 p.m.? Fenway grasped his head in his hands and began slowly rubbing his temples. How should I know? I don't even remember what I did this morning. Before speaking, it seemed as if Roland glanced at the two-way mirror. Angel instinctively stepped back away from his line of sight and then chided herself. He can't see you, you idiot, she told herself. When he glanced again at the glass, Angel stayed put. Then he changed the question. Curtis, what do you like to do for fun? Fenway was clearly confused at the change in Roland's direction, and at first didn't answer, but finally, fun? Me? And then, deciding there would be no harm in answering, I like to smoke. I like to drink. I like partying with girls. Fenway smiled, showing a grin which alternated between brown or absent teeth. Inside the observation room, Angel turned to Captain Davis. What made the investigation focus on him? Angel asked with a nod toward Curtis Fenway. Even though Violet wasn't raped, we ran checks on all the local sex offenders in the area, which you know includes their, he paused, clearing his throat, proclivities. We've been interviewing them one by one. Not pleasant, Angel commiserated. No, these guys are disgusting. Anyway, you see before you a Mr. Curtis Fenway, who has charges from when he was 14 and 17. He was fooling around with a 12-year-old neighbor for the former and a 15-year-old for the latter. Sitting back in his chair, Detective Roland studied Curtis Fenway and without blinking an eye asked, What age are these girls you like partying with, Curtis? Fenway looked up at Roland. I like women. Don't you? He sneered. But that's not what you said, is it, Curtis? You said girls. You like girls, said Roland, leaning in. And what I'm asking you is what age are these girls you like to party with? Curtis was sweating. I didn't mean, I don't party with little girls. Cutting off Curtis mid-sentence. Are you sure? Because I heard you like them young. No, no, Curtis stuttered, his face white, his eyes wide. I'm not a... He stopped, speechless. Roland stared at Curtis for a moment and then got up from his chair and stepped out of the interrogation room to be met by the captain and Angel, who had immediately opened the door and stepped out into the hallway. If he was surprised to see Angel, his face didn't show it. He's not our guy. Angel knew he was talking to the captain, but responded anyway. I don't think so either. He's erratic and impatient. He wouldn't have been able to wait quietly for Violet to appear. He's weak. I don't think he would have been able to scale the wall, and when Violet put up a fight, he would have given up. Roland nodded his head. Agreed. And this time, directly to Angel. And did you see his face when he realized what I was accusing him of? He assumed I meant something else. Frankly, despite his criminal history, he seemed disgusted. Roland stopped and leaned his back against the wall. Captain Davis looked from Roland to Angel, realizing he was superfluous to the conversation. So what's your next move? Angel sighed. Well, actually, there were some incidents of theft and vandalism at Sinclair Academy. After consulting with the head of security, Aidan Penrod, he investigated and discovered who the thief was, Deidre Meadows, a 12-year-old student. When interviewing her, they asked her about the vandalism, and she denied she was the vandal and admitted that while she was hiding after stealing on one occasion, she watched the vandalism of one of the teacher's vehicles. Her description of the vandal matches Violet's attacker. Roland said accusingly. You never mentioned the thefts or the vandalism. Angel looked at Roland guiltily. To tell you the truth, I just found out about them. I came to get the police reports to see if all the incidents were connected or just the vandalism on the car, and then to explain further. The description was more generic than specific. Roland smiled to let her off the hook. I'll take a look as well. After getting home, Angel opened the file folder containing the police reports of the various Sinclair Academy incidents. At first glance, they felt random and unconnected. When she worked patrol, there were usually nights of vandalism like Halloween, prom night, or sometimes after a big high school football game. The crimes were usually on different properties throughout a specific neighborhood. The crimes at Sinclair reminded her of businessmen who, when they didn't get their way, hired thugs to intimidate small business owners into doing what they want, usually selling them a property. They basically terrorized them and their tenants until the owners surrendered and sold out, usually at a price much lower than fair market value. She sat, staring at the reports side by side. The refrigerator didn't stop working due to technical failure. Aidan had spoken with JR, the head maintenance guy, and it was also confirmed with the police report. A bunch of paper towels were stuffed by the engine, and the hose connecting the water to the ice maker was dislodged. That seemed almost juvenile. The fire department concluded their investigation and reported to the police that the fire in the theater block was deliberately set with a match thrown into a barrel of costumes doused with cooking oil. If she was going to stick with the hired thug theory, then these attacks were all directed at Sinclair Academy, or more specifically, Ella Sinclair. She hadn't heard Ella had received any buy offers, but Ella wouldn't put something like that in the school newsletter. Angel sat back in her chair and thought for a minute. Ella Sinclair would have enemies, not because she was unfair or ruthless. She was just good at what she did, and what she did was make money. Someone may be getting back at her because they had lost out on a deal to her and were bitter about it. Angel's mind grasped briefly at a memory, but lost it quickly. What kind of business enemy would brutally attack a little girl? Or maybe Violet's attacker and the car vandal were one suspect, and the other acts of vandalism perpetrated by another? Her thoughts were becoming disorganized. Maybe Sunday with her parents was a good idea.